Alright, sorry guys, sometimes things just run on a little bit longer than I expected them to. So let's go ahead and discuss this code. Let's actually first see how we can use it. So what I'm going to do is I'll split my window and I will jump into my my client application. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say services on server, or services server dot state money dot subscribe. State goes into console log state. So let's go ahead and see what this small piece of code does. Let's jump back into our window, let's open up our console, and let's refresh. We'll see HMR connected. Whoops, cannot read subscribe of undefined. Cannot read. Oh, that's status, not state. Derp. I meant to do status. That's totally my fault. Sorry, guys. All right, we see object is connected as true. Let's go ahead and nuke the server. I'm going to come over here to the server, and I'm going to hit Control-C. Now, is connected as false. Is connected as false. Is reconnecting true. Attempt 1. Attempt 2. And then it's going to back off a little bit. It does a gradual back off to where it doesn't try to reconnect after X amount of time. And then let's go ahead and start the server up and see what happens. And we can watch our state as it changes. So now our server started up and we're connected to the HMR. And now object is connected true. So now we have an observable stream of events for determining what the status of the connection is. But most importantly, but in addition to that, we also have these properties that we can query if we want to. So if we're writing synchronous code, we can query these properties straight up and say, are we connected right now? Are we reconnecting? Blah, blah, blah. But if we're interested in the stream of events, we can bind to this. So I can say, if we're disconnected, maybe show a chat message or something like that. And it just requires this little bit of code. So let's break this code down a little bit. First of all, we're merging in observable sequences, or multiple observable sequences. We're merging into one sequence, and that's what this merge call does. I can maybe make this a little bit more clear by changing my formatting a little bit. Now, ESLint's going to yell at me, but just for illustrative purposes, let's leave it like this for a second. And what this does is it merges these events. But I do something else that's interesting. Let me, again, I'm playing around with my formatting here in case you guys aren't familiar with this style of code. So what I'm doing is I'm saying merge in these 4 streams. And what are these 4 streams? Well, they're observable event handlers on socket.io, but for each event handler, it maps it into this new state object. So this is an immutable style of programming where I'm saying, okay, if we receive the connect event, we know we're connected. So go ahead and replace the entire state object with this. Of course, we don't do that quite yet. We do that when we subscribe to it. But this is what the stream outputs. It outputs a new state object every time the state changes that we can query on. And then we do publish replay. Whoops, it should be publish replay 1. And then ref count. So what does publish replay and ref count do? Well, publish replay simply says, if somebody new subscribes to this stream, don't reconnect to all of these event handlers. Instead, share this one instance of all these event handlers to everybody who connects. But the second somebody subscribes, always publish the latest event that came out. So let's go ahead and see an example of that. So if I went over here and I said, instead of doing this right here, if I said window.set timeout, and I set a timeout for maybe a second, and I come back here and I refresh, notice how in a second we get is connected true. Maybe that was too short a time. Let's do 3 seconds so that everything has time to initialize. If we wait 3 seconds, we get is connected true. So we always immediately will receive the status of the server on the first time we connect, and then we will still subsequently see the status of the server while it connects, disconnects, and reconnects. And so this is a very powerful thing. It is not very easy to read if you're not familiar with this pattern. But it is very easy to read if you are. And again, the whole point of this course is to give you guys some real-world examples of how we can use reactive extensions. If you're curious about the internals of reactive extensions, or you would like to learn more about the different operators, I did a primer on it as my last video series. But This is the kind of code that we're going to be writing, and we get so much power with so little code. It's very, very straightforward once you get used to it. Anyway, so that's our status, and that's an example of how we can... I'll go ahead and fix this up. How we can use our on method to do something cool. We can just concatenate or merge a bunch of these streams from completely different things and then map them to a particular piece of data and then publish that stream. And that's a very common pattern that you're going to see throughout this series. All right, in the next video, we're going to do something a little bit more interesting. We are going to wrap our ons and our emits so that we can create a bidirectional communication framework for emitting actions, specific actions to the server. And we're going to take a look at that in the next video, and we'll see you guys there.